Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey,
No, I feel like the barrier of entry is way too high on them.
Yeah.
And kids are just sitting all day playing the shit, getting so good.
Well,
like, I
there's
just
that,
have
and you
fun.
don't like. There's no story. Like, fuck that.
I need a good story.
I need a good story too. I hear you. Damn, this is interesting. Like, futuristic.
Yeah. It's like the cheapest, but it's also very big.
It is large.
It's very bulky. And you don't have a big chain. Sometimes dudes will be wearing big ass chains and they're rubbing up against it. I was like,
yeah. No, we should have no chain interaction. We should be good.
I don't really think about that. I don't think I could rock a chain.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a bad way. I never saw The Sopranos. I was playing this shit, and I was like, do you want me to stop this shit?
That's shameful, man. It's the best show of all time.
I see you got hella Sopranos shit all around, bro.
I have a lot of Sopranos shit. It's like, I'm obsessed with The Sopranos.
Why?
Like, beyond what's normal. You good? You got the...
Yeah. Why?
I'm Italian, and a lot of times... mob stuff. There's this weird pride that's kind of taken in it, especially by Italian Americans. I was just raised on it. My mom had The Godfather on 24/7 when I was a kid. Like, that's like her background comfort. Really? You know what I mean? Like, she made me watch that.
That makes sense, because I was forced to watch horror movies really young.
Okay. Yeah, Godfather was just always on, and then Sopranos is kind of this, like, 21st century or turn of the 21st century, It's so good. It's so good. And it's a TV show has so much more opportunity, a good TV show, to like tell like such a longer, more enriched storyline than a movie in a lot of cases. There's something beautiful about an encapsulated movie too.
Yeah.
But a good one. But, and don't get me wrong, some shows drag on too long. But Sopranos, the acting, the writing, James Gandolfini. It wouldn't have been the show without him.
I think I came to the realization that I was a hipster. Because I was like, if something's popular, I would go out of my way not to watch it.
Sometimes things are popular because they are actually good.
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of times I would tend to agree. I don't like to jump on hype trains and stuff like that, but sometimes it's warranted.
I was a hipster for so long, and then I was like...
What qualifies you as a hipster? We both have similar glasses, so am I a hipster? Yeah. I feel like that's a big part of it.
Do you know?
I like lattes, too.
All right, you are a hipster, too.
Jesus Christ.
The hipster Jeff Foxworthy.
Are we in Williamsburg right now?
You might be a hipster. No, but I feel like if you purposefully avoid shit that's popular, that makes you a hipster.
That's the true definition of a hipster?
I feel like that's a true definition of a hipster.
Okay, I oftentimes do that.
Because I feel like it's lowest common denominator.
I've never identified as a hipster.
You've never identified.
I've made fun of hipsters before.
You might be a hipster.
Jesus
Jeff Foxworthy,
Christ.
you might be a hipster.
That's crazy.
I came to that realization too, though. I was like, damn, I'm hating on this shit just because a lot of people like it.
I do that with music a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't like. Especially the state of hip hop, I've become so frustrated with it that, it's so hard to sift through what's coming out right now looking for good music in the hip hop space. There's so much, in my opinion, bad hip hop, and listen, beauty's in the eye of the beholder or whatever. Some people clearly like it. I don't know. I feel like it's very low frequency, very low effort put into it.
Do you think that's because you're in it, though, that it's kind of shoved in your face?
No, I don't think. It's not even necessarily shoved in my face. Anytime I just tap in and see what's going on, I don't tend to like it. But I probably hear less hip hop than your average civilian in America nowadays. I kind of listen to beats and older music. Occasionally something new, but usually it has to be introduced to me by someone who knows me and knows that I will like it. You know?
I guess because I get to be like a professional fan, I like the digging to find the shit that's cool. But that's
I don't
because
have as much
I'm
time
not,
to do that anymore.
Yeah, you're
I guess,
in it. You're working.
Yeah, I'm in
like
it,
you're
yeah.
making it. I don't do that with comedians. I don't
Right,
go and like watch
right.
all the newest comedian shit. Like
Right.
I don't have time for that.
I'd rather do it with comedians.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
like I feel like there's a lot more reward potentially there. You know, a good comedy special and nothing like it.
But it's because you still enjoy it.
True.
You probably are you like burnt out on music?
Not on making it and not on performing it, because performing is, you know, I would even say potentially, hey Moose, how you doing, buddy?
Hey Moose. Moose is a quest dog.
Yeah, oh he is,
Moose
dude. He's
yeah.
coming to bring us a new quest, right? A new side mission. If you collect 15 apples, you will get this sword,
Someone shit in the foyer.
He's a good boy. But I would say, I mean, I'm about to be 35. You get burnt out on certain things. Making music, there's still magic in the studio. When you do something you didn't expect to do, or something you did expect to do and it just turns out better than you could have imagined, there's this dopamine rush where it's just like, wow, this is incredible. This is awesome. You know, so there's still love in that setting. Touring, I'm not going to say I'm not burnt out on touring. I've been doing that for a long time, but the act of actually performing still brings me much joy. But touring is exhausting, dude. I've been doing this shit for a long time. I've been in this game for a long time. Wear and tear is a real thing, man. There's nothing more exhausting on this earth than touring.
And you have to live up to the expectations of everyone around you, even though it's literally just your job. Like, you're literally doing your job, but you also have to make everyone around you enjoy it too.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why there's a lot of drinking on the road, you know, because sometimes I'm not in a good mood particularly, and I have to kind of force it out of myself.
That's tough. That's something being around touring musicians, I realized. I was damn,
I mean,
everyone's making it about them.
Well, you got to understand too, I mean, you got a crowd full of people, and this might be the only time they ever see you. This is their one in-person Chris Webby experience. And they've been listening for however long, supporting. You know, you got to think about those people, and you got to give them what they deserve.
I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about, like, people backstage.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the crew, everyone has a job.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, mine requires a certain element. You know, not that my DJ and drummer don't have to rise to the occasion. Tour manager doesn't have to rise to the occasion. You know, there's a lot of roles. You know, merch guy. That's a long. He's sets up. He's there all night.
I guess I mean randos that cause scenes.
Well,
backstage
100%.
because
Yeah,
they
that's
want
different.
it to be their night that they're backstage at a Chris Webby show.
And you see that in people. You know, I do meet and greets, and I do an all access ticket where people get to come backstage, and you know, sometimes. I have great interactions. Super cool people who in another timeline I probably would be great friends with, but you know, there's no time, you know, and we hang out for a little bit, have a drink, and it's on to the next city. Sometimes you have people where it's all about the phone capture and, you know, they're really not present, or, you know, they just want it to be what they had defined in their head already, which sometimes can make you feel like a zoo animal.
You get put in a box, Yeah,
I mean, it's just like, yo, if all you bought this ticket to come hang out backstage and it's just all about getting the picture with the whole, don't get me wrong, get your picture. I say the same thing to people in the crowd when they're trying to film the whole thing. It's like, definitely film your favorite song, for sure. But if you're just there all night recording, you're not present. You know, and it's like, don't you want to take something more away from this experience?
Yeah, and when you go back and watch a concert video, it's never that enjoyable.
No. But I get it, though. You know, I've been at concerts. Like, I saw not too long ago Weezer, actually. And you were also at that show.
The same show.
So when they play the fucking, oh my God, Say It Ain't So. I love that song. You know what I mean? I took the phone out for that, got my little capture, and then went back to enjoying the show. But at the same time, being present is very difficult in this day and age. And I understand that too, and I myself have to work on that, because there's so often, it maybe a little bit different than that particular example, but just getting so caught up in the to-do list and what needs to be done. And, there are a ton of things that I got to do constantly. And when you get too caught up in that, you don't savor it. You don't look around and really be like, wow, this is incredible. What a blessing to be living this life.
Because everyone's trying to monopolize time, and that fucks up the present,
Yep.
I just started meditating again after a long time, like
I need to
every
start
day
doing
waking up. And at 15 minutes meditating seems like such a big thing, but I'll blow 30 minutes on Instagram when I wake up.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing that I've incorporated into my life, and I highly suggest, is not going to your phone immediately and going to a book. Get up, maybe check your screen real quick, make sure there's no emergencies. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if there isn't, what's the rush? You know what I mean? Why don't you, if you have the time, unless you got to go to work or something like that, obviously, then get up and do your normal routine. Don't have time for Instagram anyways at that rate. But if you do have the time, you make yourself a coffee, sit down with a book, read a chapter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like really let come into your day properly. Maybe stretch a little bit. Breathe. People forget to live.
Be in the present,
and myself included. I had to really force myself into doing that because I love to read. And I think reading is very important. It's a lost art, sadly. And I think that there are some very, very important books that everyone should have read, and it's not the case. People don't really read that much anymore, but I think that's something.
What's your top 5 list of books?
Animal Farm, hands down. Highly suggest it. George Orwell. I would put Animal Farm and 1984. I mentioned both of them in the remix of the Oliver Anthony song Richmond, North of Richmond, which I just did. Which
that was incredible.
Thank you.
Really, really
all props go to him.
Yeah. He's incredible too.
Sparked the soul of the nation and the world. And I think he spoke to a message that, it's not politics, and I speak sometimes on politics, and, the problems that we have are so much deeper than that. I hate when I'm labeled by some people as a political rapper. I'm not a political rapper. I think politics is all just a puppet show. And the more you know, the more you learn about what's really going on in there. And I think the real core message of Chris Webby music, even the raw thoughts, where I can get vicious, but if you really listen, there's one common denominator outside of, the drug songs or the flex songs, things like that. Because I'm a rapper, you gotta have some fun, and I do drugs, I rap about that too. But I think the real takeaway, the real message beneath it all, beneath the venom of a raw thoughts is unity and how important that is and how divided we are right now and we allow them to make us. And I think that's, that Oliver Anthony song really sparked that in terms of we are all in this together. We really are. And we gotta stop even trying to sort our problems out. We got bigger problems. And we gotta start really paying attention to that. And nothing scares them more than people being able to put aside their grievances and come together for a common goal.
Well, that's what I mean about monopolizing time, is if you can take over someone's whole day, then they're not going to worry about what's happening in the real world.
And I mean, there's a lot of that going on. They're making it so hard for people to live, to afford things. They have to work so much. I'm so lucky to be in this position that I'm in right now. I worked very hard to be in this position, but it gives me the ability of some extra time to look into some of these things and bring those conversations to the people who might not have as much time to sit around digging and learn some of these conspiracies and facts and just things that are really going on out there. Because I totally understand that too. There's people with kids working 2 jobs. They don't have the same time to try to crack the code of what's really going on out here. And, it's on people with a platform and a microphone and, a little bit of intelligence and time on their hands to bring these sort of things to people's attention.
I remember being a kid and they're like, what's your way of learning? Are you a visual learner? Or I think a lot of people, And I'm this way learned through music. Like, if there's
Absolutely.
a beat to something,
Absolutely.
it sticks in your mind a little bit more. And I don't think that's taken seriously. That people learn from music. Like, that's a way of someone to remember something.
And by no means am I, some scholar or am I the end all be all of information, especially when it comes to this type of stuff. But, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of people who are the academics of this world that we've grown to trust through society are some of the more corrupt and incorrect people in our society right now. You have these people high up in the medical field, it's like they're not necessarily right. We can't just trust the people we've been taught to trust our whole lives. It's a lot of veils are lifting right now. And there's like a global awareness coming into play, and I'm just trying to do my part to help that process along. What comes next, I don't know exactly, but people just got to stop focusing so much on the politics of it. It's so much deeper than, look at the whole world. Look at what's going on in Canada. Look what's going on in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, like really all over. It's we got a big problem.
And unity is the thing that would bring everything together.
Yep.
But
and
unity doesn't make money.
It.
But unity does make money. Actually, like they teach, I feel like that's a thing. I almost just said unity doesn't make money. But why did I say that? That's not true.
They don't want you to think that it's, like divisiveness sells for sure. But that doesn't mean unity couldn't. We have never really tried it. There's been moments where people have come together, but I feel like we've never been in a spot where the whole world needed to come together because there's a whole world plan going on right now.
It sucks that when really bad things happen, people unite the most.
Right.
It's kind of like creatives. The people who had pretty shitty childhoods usually go on to do some pretty great things.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And, I've been rapping about a lot of this stuff for a long time. This message I've been pushing, and I've had my own awakening throughout the process. If you listen to like Raw Thoughts 1, you could tell I'm playing into that. I'm playing into the divisiveness a little bit because, I hadn't realized this, and this yet. And it's kind of like,
though.
Yeah, of course. And it's totally cool. I think it's takes a man to acknowledge, when they were misled or incorrect about something and to just expand their worldview in a public forum.
Yeah.
But, I think there's some people too who think that rapping about this stuff, helps or, I think there are people who do this for clout and do this for views. I think that does exist. I can just wholeheartedly say that's not why I do it. I believe this shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's paramount. It is so important to be using a platform for something that matters right now. I've been doing it. I just feel like the world's a little bit more receptive to hearing it maybe right now.
Yeah. You're like the opposite of clout chasing.
Yeah,
in the way that I hope you take this as a positive, but like when I was listening to the new Raw Thoughts, I was like, damn, he like wants people to like not listen to him if they're not actually listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the point where it's like you're with us or you're kind of in the way. You know what I mean? It's like we should all be on the same team at this point. Look around. Look what's going on. And yeah, because I do this and I talk about these things, I've definitely like blackballed from a certain part of the industry. I've definitely had opportunities taken away because I've been so vocal about certain things, but that's okay. That's the...
Do you think it has affected your money in the long run?
Yeah, I've lost certain opportunities. And the thing is, I'll never know the extent. I really will never know the full extent. I just know the ones where, for example, there was a vinyl plant who was printing up my vinyls and they listened to it and they refused to print my vinyls. There was a PR company that I was going to hire to help, things along and, try to tidy up the rollouts and all that. And enough of their staff threatened to quit if they brought me on.
That's crazy.
I was supposed to be doing in-store signings at a chain up in Maine and New Hampshire when the last album came out. Same thing. A bunch of the staff threatened to walk out if they brought me in. And that's where I get confused because it's like I said, I know some of the things I say can be said viciously. I know that listen, when I feel something, I say it, and I go all the way there, but unity is the real message beneath it. That's the fossil. Once you brush everything off, that's what's there. And for that to... I just think shutting down conversations is dangerous. And I think at my own risk, I will continue to spark those conversations. I mean, then there's the element of like, I do say some wild shit. What happens to people who say wild shit historically? Like, when they really are out there saying it. I mean, if I said some of the things not on a beat that I've said in a song, I would be kicked off of social networks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it would be... You get a little extra wiggle room with music. Because it's creative
rhymes?
Expression.
Yeah. Do you think because it's it's like, it doesn't have to be taken seriously because it is music?
Well, I mean, a lot of what I say is tongue-in-cheek, and I've found a way to try to say things where I can kind of bob and weave around, but I can be pretty fucking blatant too, and people have been kicked off of social networks for less.
Yeah.
Especially during certain times, when a couple of years ago when it was big with the shots and this and that, and I'm coming out.
Do you like poking the bear a little bit?
I think the bear needs to be poked. Mm-hmm. End of story. Someone's got to fucking poke the bear. Uh-huh. And, you see a lot of these other people who, similarly try to channel this energy and, maybe do it a little more for clout, etc. Mm-hmm. And, they poke the parts of the bear that the machine wants you to poke because it's only causing more divisiveness. I'm getting in the underside of that bear. I'm poking the things that haven't been poked yet.
Yeah. And you're inspirational in the way that you are just being yourself fully.
Yeah, I mean, like, you talk to me, I'm like
100%.
I am a full-blown, proud conspiracy theorist, have been, since I really had conscious thought, and started to see the world how I did, and it's like, it's a fucked up place.
When did that first happen? When did your mind first open up?
It was like high school, and it was... a lot for our generation was 9/11 stuff, and just looking into that and being like, whoa, if they would do this, these people are capable of damn near anything, So it's like, once you've accepted the fact, and who are these people? At that point, I would, other than the obvious characters in play, but they go so much deeper than that, like I said. So it's, once you realize that nothing's off limits to the worst people on the planet, you become susceptible to entertaining certain things and believing things might be possible. And I like to try to separate it between the things that I think and the things that I know. Mm-hmm. And I try to make sure when I'm speaking to people that, I separate those things.
Yeah.
Because there's
fun conspiracies and like what is actually happening.
It's like the word love. They put it under
one umbrella, so it's everything. You're like, I love tacos, but I'm also in love with my partner. You know what I mean? It's like, this is Bigfoot's a conspiracy, but also...
But giants were real. So it's like, I don't know. I never seen Bigfoot.
Yeah. Someone described it as I got black-pilled, and I did. I think I got so much knowledge young that I just went away from it, and I kind of don't put attention to it, which I don't know if is good or not.
I mean, that means that you're kind of like a sleeper cell in society right now, just like, you know what's up. And don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily healthy to constantly be thinking about this shit either. Mm-hmm. Like, I think about it too much. I have to take full detoxes sometimes and just watch a TV show for a month because it's fucking negative as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's so sad. Like, it's really sad where we are.
And that's what that song But
Yeah,
that's the original point.
It's a damn shame.
That's
you know,
what the,
it really is.
Has he heard your version
I
of
don't
it?
know. I don't know. I
Okay.
hope he likes it if he did, man, for sure. I was just trying to do it justice, you know?
And you definitely did.
I appreciate that.
Who do you think is in charge? Is that an okay question? We don't have to go down this path.
I think, you know, there's definitely multiple secret societies. There's families, bloodlines that have been running things from behind the scenes for hundreds of years. I think history is what they made it to be. You learn at a certain age how much you have to unlearn, you know, that you've been taught because, and I got a scholarship to private school. Like, I'm technically a smart
did too.
kid. Yeah, no
I
doubt.
couldn't afford private school.
Yeah,
Got on
me neither.
full tuition to that. That's so funny.
But like, even there, you know, a lot of this shit that you're taught, and that I mean, it's even worse now with the kids who are coming up. And you have to like literally unlearn shit, and that's why it's been harder. I feel like our generation is going to be very important in whatever comes next, because some of the older generation, no disrespect to them, but they didn't never really had to open their mind to some of this shit as deep as it goes until so much later in life. We kind of were exposed to it from the beginning. And now, you know, a lot of these kids growing up, I don't know, something about the screens being in front of them all the time.
Yeah.
It builds a sort of apathy in them where, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that's just how the world is. But we saw how the world was, and I'm not saying it was perfect, but we see how much worse it is now, and we don't like it.
But do you think that's going away? Do you think screens is something that's gonna come and go? Or is that like our kids just adapting to what the world is going to be from now on?
Parents are gonna have to like really enforce that on a kid-by-kid basis, because the screens ain't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. But I think now people are realizing, like, I mean, I don't have a kid. It's easy for me to say, you know, but so much of why I say this shit and I think this shit is because, like, what if I did want to have a kid one day? What kind of world am I subjecting this innocent creature to? You know, like, our
but you
parents didn't think
adapted
about
to the
that.
world that you were thrown into and came out strong. Wouldn't you think that your child, no matter what the circumstances were?
The circumstances are just getting dire. They're getting fucking dire, man. And it's like, sometimes you don't want to think about it, and it's like, oh, you know, try to have that headspace of like, oh, it's all gonna, you know, it's bad now, but it's gonna work out, you know, everything will rebound, like stock market ideology, you know, but like, look how far we've fallen since 2020, you know, and like really think about it. Like, where were you in 2019 and what was normal to you? And now feel how you feel in 2023 and what's now normal to you, the expectations you have out of life. You know, I feel like...
I'll be honest with you, I was lost, and quarantine giving me a reset made me find myself. I was lost because there was so much noise around me that I didn't know.
There was a beauty to quarantine.
There was a beauty to it if you weren't scared.
Right.
But that's how I feel about maybe a kid, is like, maybe it's beautiful if you're not scared.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
But like, how much do you think those secret societies that are in charge affect your day-to-day life?
Well, being in the position that I'm in now, not as much as they would be if I had less money, really is what it comes down to. I mean, I'm out there touring, so I get to see what things are like and interact with the people. And things are not good for a lot of people. So I'm a bit insulated to it. But I make sure to get out there and connect, you know, to really see what people and feel what people are going through. And it's just like, it's rough out there. It really is rough. And like, cities are falling apart, and it's not looking good. Nothing's looking good. So I think...
the divide is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think you are right. Quarantine brought the best out of some people, you know, that time period.
No, but I do think the world in total went for worse.
Oh, for sure.
I had to say for my personal benefit.
100%. And I would agree as well. I would definitely agree as well. It really, like, helped me recenter. I had been out touring for, I mean, at that point I was like 10, 11 years into my career. So it like really gave me the first moment of quiet for a long time.
This episode is sponsored by Hetty Roosevelt's out of Maine. They are the go-to for handcrafted edibles. Make sure to try out all their products at Hetty Roosevelt's on Instagram. I would recommend their lemonade concentrate. That shit fucked me up. But shout out Hetty Roosevelt's. Let's get back into it.
So on a personal level, yeah, there were benefits. Some people definitely came out stronger. I also think all that extra time on people's hands, which they don't have when they're working, like we talked about, allowed people to get aware of certain things. I think there was a big awareness that there was a bump in the people who know what's going on. Mm-hmm. People were forced. They're like, and it got to the point where like, yo, enough's enough, you know? Businesses falling apart. So many privately owned businesses, not there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so many good food places that I used to love to go to are not there anymore.
And a lot more chains.
A lot more chains. A lot of you know, I make music. So it's like, all I had to do was stay in my house and keep putting out music. That's as simple as the marketplace is. But any brick and mortar, I mean, imagine having worked your whole life and opening, you know, a bakery or a diner or something in 2019, and then 2020 comes around, you got to shut down all that time.
Yeah.
You know?
I was thinking about this recently, how there's a lot more horny music right now. Like, horny music is really popular, and I was trying to think why. And I think it's because the kids that are now what the market drives were locked down for so long that they just want to fuck. That they just want to fuck.
Yeah.
And that, because the reason I bring that up is I was like, is dumb music being pushed on us, or is it because kids are horny and locked up for 4 years?
I think there's a lot at play, but yeah, I think dumb shit's being pushed on the people. Like, why isn't smart shit being pushed on the people? Clearly, like, so much of this is so dumbed down, and it's creating a generation of artists who want to be successful, so they're following the trend of dumb shit, and that's my problem with some of this hip-hop. I mean, I didn't grow up listening to only hyper-intelligent hip-hop.
Yeah.
There's a space for everything. Fun hip-hop, you know, carefree, you know. I used to love the Cash Money Millionaires, Trick Daddy, you know, like, not oftentimes considered some of the most lyrical, you know, the big timers and such, but a good time nonetheless, and it had its place. I don't know, I just feel like times are dire right now, and it's almost like hearing some of this shit and what's being talked about while the whole fucking ship's on fire, you know? It's just like, dude, what the fuck is going on? And I think hip-hop is supposed to be fun in some instances, also true to your experience as a human, you know? That's why when some people would chastise violence or glorification of a certain lifestyle in hip-hop, I would disagree if that's what was true to that person, you know? And I don't think a lot of the guys we grew up with, I mean, I don't want to say they didn't promote violence, like Get Rich or Die Trying, definitely one of the greatest albums of all time. Some of those songs, I guess, could be argued promote violence, but I don't know, they were good.
But I think it's ignorant, not to you, but to people arguing certain things that people are going through violence. Like, if you know, people are living through shit that isn't just a song.
Yes,
and then I think people then took that as like, oh, that's just something we can run with, and it gets away from this is actually authentically the lives.
Yes, and I think as a creative, as someone who makes music, you just, you know, you do what's true to you. You know, and the moment you're not doing that, like, you're fake. You know, and that's not cool.
But
you don't want to be a fake rapper.
Fuck with you. I fuck with the Griselda guys. I fuck with Danny. Like, dudes, I think I get to. I'm lucky because attention's the universal currency. So I only want to put my attention to things that I enjoy or are authentic, and then I kind of horse blinder everything else
And
out.
that's what you learn to do, especially, you know, going through music and shit. That's
Yeah.
why I don't know a lot of this new shit. I don't go out as much, so I don't really like experience it that way either. Just occasionally I'll hear something or someone be like, "Yo, you hear this new song?"
Yeah.
And play it for me, and I'm like, "Wow, this is bad." What is the what's the one right now? The
Oh, Sexy
butthole
Red.
one.
Sexy
What
Red.
the hell is that? Like,
Tell me the pussies are pink and booty holes aren't brown. Though.
yeah,
that is her truth.
you know, and I suppose so.
She's got a brown asshole.
Yeah.
It's Sexy Red's truth.
That's what her name is?
Sexy Red.
Sexy Red.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I'm also getting old.
Yeah.
I'm about to be 35.
Okay.
I'm not
See, I'm
supposed
26.
to identify.
I'm 26.
Yeah, I mean, and
So
I would say we're in the same gen, kinda.
I like some dumb stuff, but it's because I'm a comedian
Yeah.
and I see comedic value in her rapping that.
Absolutely.
You know?
And you know, that's almost like doing research.
Exactly.
You know, you gotta.
Exactly.
It's good to have your finger on the pulse. And you're right. We do have a 9-year gap there. So.
All right, you never listed off your 5 books. We went,
Oh, okay, yeah.
2,
Animal
and then
Farm,
we went on the
1984. Lord of the Flies. I'm trying to throw a graphic novel in there. Watchmen. I'll get back on the
All right,
third
we'll
one.
go on another
Maybe
tangent.
48 Laws of Power.
Okay, all right.
Very, very useful book.
That's a good list right there.
Yeah.
I feel like for the first 3, those are books that they force you to read as a kid, so you never go back to them.
Yeah.
You're
and-
like, you don't understand the concepts, and you're like, I just relate that book to a shitty time in life.
Exactly. And I did the same until I went back and I did reread them and I was like, wow, this is so fucking good. I think Lord of the Flies was, I never read 1984 as a kid, but Lord of the Flies and Animal Farm I did. And, you know, I didn't remember that much.
Yeah.
And I went back and I was like, wow, this is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and Animal Farm, it's so good. It's so simple, but it's so pertinent to what's going on right now. In 1984, I hadn't read until more recently, and man, I got Brave New World on my list next. I've been told that I need to read that one. I don't know how I hadn't yet in life, so I'll get back to you. That one might make the top 5, considering my mailman told me to read that.
Your mailman.
We were talking about books,
All
yeah.
right.
We
Brave
always
New World.
we were talking about a lot of stuff. He's kind of on the same wavelength, and we're very much on the same wavelength. And he said, yeah, he was surprised I hadn't read that one, so I already ordered it.
I hope you like this transition right here. The reason I like going to the movies is because I can't focus on anything else. I
Yes.
have to focus on the
Yes.
movie.
And
It's like
seeing it in the
reading, you
theater.
have to focus on the book.
Exactly.
You
In the
can't-
theater
you
is the
can't
best
play-
way, dude.
Video, this is why these are great, is because if you're on your phone, you'll get a text message, and then you can't, like this,
Yep.
I'm just on this.
Yeah, you can't. With the arcade games, you need both hands.
Yeah. But when you're
Simple as that.
focused on something, like when I saw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was
Yeah.
the transition.
Yes,
I
nice.
loved it,
nice.
and I was focused on it, like nothing else.
Absolutely. I saw it like the day before it officially released. They did like a screening. I was up at vacation in Maine. And yeah, it was awesome. I'm a big Ninja Turtles guy, So to see some of those characters brought to life was fire.
Yeah. You liked it?
Leatherhead and Wingnut and the fucking Scumbug. Like, I had all these action figures when I was a kid. So to me, that's like extra cool. I did like it. Yeah, I liked it. I
The
think
art style was cool.
it was very cool. It had some genuinely funny moments. I'm still waiting for someone to do like a dark Ninja Turtles, like a real dark take on it.
But I feel like that's how Transformers happens.
No, Transformers. Well, we already saw that where Michael Bay tried to make Turtles movies. Those shits were ass. They weren't it. And Transformers, same shit.
You mean like a Batman-style TMNT movie?
Yeah, I mean.
Like a Christopher Nolan directed.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
I think it would. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that for Last Ronin. Did you read Last Ronin? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're making that a video game.
They're making that a video game. God of War style video game, which
that's
is
gonna be
my favorite type of video game, dude.
I like to play a game with myself how much I can sneak into a movie theater.
In terms of what?
Food.
Oh, okay.
Like, I brought a
You set up a little picnic in there.
I brought a full order of dumplings, General Tso's chicken, and fried
General Tso's?
Is
that really? That's not how people call it. I'm not a big Asian food guy, but General Tso's.
I'm pretty sure that's.
I thought it was Sao.
I could be wrong. I think
you might be.
But I brought a full Asian meal into the movie theater.
Do you hide it under your hoodie?
Yeah, I put it in my fanny pack. This fanny pack holds
Damn,
so
that's
much.
greasy, dude.
Yeah. And then I put my podcast equipment in it for today.
That's good, yeah.
You don't try to sneak crazy shit into a movie theater?
No. I just try to get, like, extremely high beforehand and maybe, like, take some sort of pill that'll take effect partway through the movie.
Yeah.
You know, to enhance my experience.
Yeah. The worst is when you get too high and then there's way too many commercials, and then you blow your high watching commercials. True.
There's like, because I always want to make it for the previews, but you don't really want the commercials. There's an art to arriving at the right time.
At the perfect time.
But the best experience that I had in that vein was the first Avatar in 3D. And I ate this, like, it was like a walnut or a chestnut that was like triple dipped in acid.
Oh, fuck.
And bro, it was fucking surreal. I had to put my hood up, dude. I was like, I was so in it, bro. I was like, you know, because I'm big on wilderness and nature and, you know, preserving it. So that movie really played off of that. You know, they're coming to cut the trees of life down. And I'm just like, yo, fuck
that movie, you're probably
oh my God, I was emotional.
You're like, I'm going to go fuck a tree or tonight.
Yeah, I was, and then it ended and I'm still tripping balls. And, you know, when that came out, I was already like in the game somewhat, you know, like early in my career, but I was like becoming known. So then it ended and I was like, fuck, dude, if I get recognized right now, I'm gonna freak the fuck out. So I had to just like, I put my hood up and just tried to like sneak out of there like a ninja, but yeah.
When you're tripping, you think you look good, but everyone knows.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
You don't want to be, tripping is like sacred.
Yeah.
You know, psychedelics are sacred. They should be taken with intention and not in any sort of potentially uncomfortable situation.
No.
Because that will ruin your fucking experience big time.
You want to know the worst trip I had? And this is funny. What's your relationship to Little Shop of Horrors?
I actually had a EP cover where we did the big
Venus
Venus fly.
Yeah, that's why. That's like what? Why?
Yeah, right.
Why?
Oh,
you just liked it.
Yeah, I liked it, dude. I was like, dude, Venus fly. I used to have a Venus fly trap. I fed it an ant one time, dude, and the ant's leg twitched for like 2 weeks.
No. Really? It
was crazy.
It was torturing it.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on.
Crazy.
That was wild.
The only reason I say that is because I never even knew what that musical was. I didn't even realize it till I took mushrooms with an ex, and we went to our friend's production of Little Shop of Horrors in a small black box theater. So we're tripping.
Oh, and it's like a live.
Yeah, and we're tripping sack, and it's a mom, her daughter, my ex, me, and then the director of the play in the sound booth. And it's this
that's maybe a lot of variables.
50,
too many variables.
50 people. Like, not big, and we're just tripping fucking sack watching Little Shop of Horrors, and we had to leave. But then I saw the album cover, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, that sounds fucking intense. I mean, you either want to be with a very core amount of people who are all kind of on the same page. Most people are tripping, or they're cool, they're not gonna fuck with anybody, but everyone's on the same page. Or, and I've never really done this, but, you know, the festivals are big. I know a lot of people take them there. And I feel like at events like that, there's so many people that you kind of get blended into this one organism. And I would imagine you're not too worried about it in a situation like that. But anything in between, like, you don't really want, like, other people's parents and, you know, or anything like that.
No. What's the worst trip you've had? Or craziest trip you've had?
I remember one time I tried to eat a lobster, like a whole lobster, on acid. after spending a day on Candlewood Lake in Connecticut on a boat. And I'm a big fan of tripping on boats because it's just like real nice. You're disconnected from your worries when you're on a boat, which is good. You don't want to be haunted by your to-do lists or your insecurities or anything. You kind of want to be as free from that as possible. But then we went out to dinner, and I had the bright idea to order like a fucking entire lobster dinner, and my mouth was dry. I'm having this weird experience. I'm like, damn, this whole creature like sacrificed its life. It was not the move.
You could have become vegan after that.
Yeah, it was like a weird, but then I like kind of accepted it, and it was like, I must consume this to honor it, and I was going through a weird thing eating that lobster. That's for fucking sure.
Eating and tripping is always bad.
Yeah, it's not really like super enjoyable to eat.
You ever do DMT?
I have, but I've never blasted all the way off.
Really? Why? Do you think
I just must not have done it enough or not done it quite right. I mean, the times I did it was like in a bowl on top of weed, but then with like grinded weed on top of that, and then you light that, and it's supposed to heat the. But
you didn't do it like a real one out of a dab, like.
No, I've never done that, and it does intimidate me, especially as I've gotten older. You just did it last week?
In Nashville, I did a whole ceremony.
Really? How was it?
Amazing.
Really?
I've been depressed for like over a year, and for the first time, I feel like I have control again.
Wow.
If I'm being serious.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
crazy. I gotta do that. Because
it's not as intense as you think it is, but it's just as intense as you think it is.
Well, it's not as much of a commitment as something like ayahuasca, which I've always considered. You know, I've flirted with the idea of like, oh, one day, you know, I'm gonna go down to the rainforest, you know, just get ingrained in the jungle, and you know, come back with a beard, and you know, just and maybe one day I will. I'm actually growing a beard.
I know. I was about to feel like you're halfway
I can't stop playing with it. It's new. You know what I mean? It's new to me. I've always had scruff, but I'm new to like the full beard life. But I'm just gonna let it rock.
What scares you about it?
The inability, like the loss of control. You know, as I've gotten older, I like to be in control more and more. Whereas I used to be pretty fucking carefree and like, yeah, man, whatever, let's fucking do it. You know, now you just like inherently become more responsible as you get older.
Yeah. Are you good with yourself?
I'm pretty good with myself. I think I'm pretty hard on myself too. And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think that keeps me driving to be better and better at the music I make and everything. But, you know, I definitely, everyone can improve. Everyone can be a better version of themselves. And usually, like, I'll have a period every year or so where I kind of reflect and try to change certain things and hopefully keep some of those, you know, reading a book in the morning. That was something I took on through one of those, like a couple years back. But there's still things I gotta work on, man. So much shit I gotta work on. I just stopped vaping the other day.
Did you? Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm 5 years clean of tobacco and nicotine. So when people
I'm not clean of tobacco and nicotine, but fuck vapes, dude.
Vapes are no.
I've heard from too many people that they're worse than cigarettes. I prefer cigarettes. And also just hitting it all the time, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying I'm never gonna hit a vape ever again in my life, but you know, because there's a time and a place.
It's that oral fixation.
Yeah, it's too much, dude.
Yeah.
It's too
and that's
fucking
such a
much.
that's such a terrible term, but it's true. It's like
No, for sure. And you end up just hitting it for no reason. You don't even need nicotine. You just hit it 2 seconds ago, but you just end up doing that. And I definitely decided. My producer JP, he recently did the same, and he suggested it, and I was like, you know what? You're fucking right, dude. Like, fuck vapes. Like, all of a sudden, this is just part of my life. I was, like, anti-vape in the beginning. I was like, smoke a bogey. Like, it's fucking mad pussy. This fucking vape shit.
But it is the ease of it.
It's the ease of it. It's the ease of it. And then I think I kind of started because it was when I was touring, and I try not to smoke more than a cigarette or two before I have a show on a show day.
Yeah.
So that came into play. And next thing you know, it's just like a part of your life. And it's like, yo, fuck this.
You have anxiety?
You know? Yeah, for sure, but I think that was giving me more. Definitely.
That's like caffeine.
Yeah.
It's like,
I drink a lot of caffeine.
Do I really want to? But it's like, all right, I'm awake, but I'm also hella anxious.
Right.
Like, do I want to be alert and anxious or sedated and calm?
I mean, yeah, like, my wake-up routine consists of quite a stimulant cocktail of sorts.
Yeah.
Adderall and 4 shots of espresso.
That's a wake-up call right there. What time
That's
what
just
time
enough.
do you wake
I mean,
up?
I wake up whenever, earlier than I used to, but unless I got something to do, I try to be up by 10. But yeah, I've been on Adderall since forever, so.
What gives you the anxiety, if you don't mind me asking?
Probably that doesn't help, but I don't know, man. It's crazy to think about too. It's like, as much as I'm not present a lot of times and not thinking about all this shit, when I really do sit back and think about it, it's kind of fucking nuts. And sometimes that can be overwhelming too. It's like, damn, like, look where I'm at right now. Sometimes like looking around is like overwhelming, because I'm always eyes forward. It's like, what's the next track? What's the next tour dates? What's the next this, the next that, the next post, the next video shoot? It's like I stay in that mindset, and sometimes to really look around is like fucking intense, because it's just like, damn, Do
you feel the same as you were in the beginning when you started and shit? Like, same mentality?
There's a certain hunger that you can only have when you really got nothing and but a dream. Like I'm still hungry, I'm still determined, and I think that shows. I'm still trying to one-up myself I'm making much better music than I was then. But there's something about that.
Your
I don't give a fuck.
consistency and your output rate is wild.
Yeah. Adderall and caffeine.
It's wild. It's wild.
But like when you're really young and you don't have shit, like I just had no fear. There was nothing. I wasn't worried about fucking up, really. I just was like, I would do anything. Now I am much more calculated, which is a good thing. But, I used to go on the radio shows. I used to go on Sway and shit, like, off the top. Like, and just freestyle. Like, now when I do those radio shows, I'll have a well-articulated, very calculated, written piece specifically for that, which is, the norm. It was the norm back then, too. I just was...
Not many people actually freestyle, I feel like.
No, and I don't really freestyle that much anymore either, and it's sad because that was a huge part of my come up. That was a big part of my identity as a hip hop artist. I'm glad I did it. I think that's like really important gladiator pit to have grown up in the ciphers and shit like that. But once you get big, freestyling is kind of just like no longer worth the risk. Because that's the beautiful thing about freestyle. Off the top of your head, sometimes they suck, even if you're good at it. But like when the camera's on and everyone's like, oh, Chris Webby's about to freestyle, like this better be sick. It's like, damn, this is way cooler when they were like, who's this guy? And I got to show him proof.
Because there's weight behind it now.
Yeah. And that happened a long time ago. It just wasn't worth the risk anymore. It's sad because, like I said, I really did love to freestyle. But like anything, freestyling is its own muscle, so I could get really good at it again. I was pretty fucking good at freestyling, I will say. I was like, that's what I was known for at house parties and all that shit. But I would have to like re-exercise that muscle because it's been a while.
When did you find your muse?
My muse.
Like when did you like gain consciousness as an artist?
I think it's been a really segmented awakening, my segmented consciousness of trying to figure out who I'm supposed to be, where I fit in this food chain of, hip hop, because there was
You mind if I roll a joint?
Not at all. I might actually need to grab a water. You want a drink?
I got my seltzer.
Nice. All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem.
So fucking thirsty.
Bro, hydration is something I need to that I've been really focusing on recently.
Yeah, no, it's important. It's important.
You were talking about segmented becoming yourself as an
figuring
artist.
out where I fit in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I'm a white kid from middle-class suburbs of Connecticut, and there was no blueprint for that when I came out. You know, everyone I grew up listening to, obviously there was Eminem, and that's the comparison I got everywhere I went, because that was kind of like, that's what people knew as the white rapper. So I think that made me good, because when I would step into a cypher, I had this extra expectation. Like, I'm the white guy, so I have to be that much better now, you know? Because Eminem's the only reference point, and because I'm the different one, you know? And I better bring something unique. So I kind of found what made me unique, and you know, my brain's a wild place. You know, my brain is nuts. I think of crazy things, I say crazy things, and I've always kind of like leaned into that. It's authentic to me. I'm a prankster, and you know, I'm always fucking around, making jokes and shit, and finding clever ways to say that. But you know, even bigger than that, it's like, where do I really fit in here? What's my purpose? And it's taken me a long time, and you know, you could tell there's such a shift in my music. I still like to have fun. I still rap about, you know, smoking weed and doing drugs, and you know, I've been rapping about that forever. Now, as far as drugs go too, it's very important. Like, would never say drugs are good, but I would say that I'm good at drugs. Mm-hmm. You know, and not everyone is.
I feel like your position on them have changed.
I'm just like Hunter S. Thompson-esque. You know, it's like I've been on them and I've run on them. I've scheduled things around them. I don't get outwardly addicted to them because I stay very regimented. If I ever feel like I'm leaning on one too much, I'll replace it with another. Nonetheless, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't do a bunch of drugs, and I'm not going to say that that's a good influence. But at the same time, like, not everybody's cut out to do drugs, I guess, is what it comes down to. Not everyone has the disposition for it. I'm lucky to not really have that addict gene. Not to say that I'm not a habitual user of certain substances, and, you know.
Yeah.
But some people are alcoholics, and they get a pass, you know?
Who's that professor who's like, I do crack?
I don't know. I don't do crack.
No.
I don't do crack.
Do you know who I'm talking about? He's like a Harvard professor who like is about legalizing all drugs and using them in moderation. And
I don't think that's how it would pan out if you legalized them, sadly. No,
but I was saying that in jest, but he's literally like, I'll snort some heroin to go to sleep at night, and he's like a Harvard professor.
He might have it just super
He doesn't
worked
get addicted.
out.
The reason I know I'd get addicted. Like weed's my thing. You know, like I can't.
And I smoke less weed now than I once did because of the weight of all of this. You know, this life. Sometimes I smoke weed and it's a great experience. Sometimes I smoke weed and it's like, whoa, man, fuck. You know, I get one phone call that kind of throws me off balance, and next thing you know, I got a lot of anxiety, and, you know.
Yeah. Do you think you were born to be successful, or do you think people who might not think they have a calling can, like, work on that to become?
I think I was born to make an impact in some way, shape, or form, with my words. I think I was born to make an impact with my words. And I've seen that purpose now more and more as I've kind of stepped into this role of talking about things that are actually fucking important, and now doing it from a perspective of someone who's been in the game for a long fucking time. If I came out the gate saying all this shit, it would have been different. You know, I've earned a level of trust with my fans. And I would say the hip hop community, whether they fuck with me or not, I've been around for fucking 15 years in the game.
You're a tenured rapper at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't ask people to like me or agree with me, but I think that, you know, I've earned my spot and I don't feel bad about it. I've worked very hard for it.
Does your path make sense to you?
It does. Yeah, it does. Because I was always raised to have this moral compass. My grandpa, my mom's a real firecracker, and my dad too. I mean, it's just like very good people, good-hearted people who, I can't see something wrong and not try to do something about it or want to do something about it. And, to have this sort of a platform gives me the ability to see big things and try to enact big change just by sparking some thought. And I think that is my role. It's like a modern day fucking Socrates or something, you know what I mean? Through music. Not to compare myself to someone as great as Socrates, that's just who popped into mind,
No, but why? I mean, I get why you wouldn't want to put that on yourself. But if that's the purpose behind it is knowledge, then it shouldn't matter.
Right. Because, I mean, that's really like, it is like philosophizing, at the end of the day. And I stay open-minded, and I'm okay with being wrong. And I'm not saying I'm necessarily a wholehearted good influence. Like I said, like no one's perfect, and I'm gonna rap about my life experience.
Is it hard that you're so influential on so many people? Like, is that a tough role to fill?
I try to make it known that it's like, this is my life, take the good parts of what I say and channel that. The hardworking go-getterism, the firmness for justice and what's right. Not necessarily the drugs and the whatever else I talk about, but.
Have you ever seen The Menu? The movie The Menu?
I did, yeah.
You know that scene where he's like, do you want my life? Like, not my accolades.
Right.
But do you want my life? And the sous chef is like, no, sir.
Right.
And then he fucking shoots himself in the head. I think about that a lot for like, I think everyone does have a calling, but if you're not crazy obsessed with it, then that's not your call. Like, you kind of have to be mental about something.
Yeah. No, I'm mental. I definitely am. And I think, a lot of people think that, like, this path is what they want. I naively thought it the same thing when I was young, not realizing how much goes into it. And I'm not one to complain. This life has given me so much, but there's a lot of sacrifice to it too, And there are certain days where I'm like, damn, I kind of wish I just was like normal in a sense of just like worried about the same things normal people are worried about. Not to say I'm better than normal. I'm just live a different life. I have different concerns, and I'm worried about the song mixes and like going on stage and having it's weird. It's a really weird life, but I'm a really weird dude, so I feel like it does work.
I asked Conway if he ever felt like he wished he had a regular life. He's like, life was never regular. Like, and I think that is true. Like, do I wish I had a regular life? Kinda, but I've always just been like not an outsider, but I always haven't felt like I had a purpose until I was doing this.
Me too.
Until I was doing comedy.
I can
and this
definitely identify with
thing,
that.
Which is
my
weird.
identity's been rap since I was in 6th grade, and I started rapping in the lunch line. Like, I was all or nothing from that moment. Everything else was a side note. School, all that shit is like, I'm gonna be a rapper.
Why do you think that is?
I was drawn to it. I mean, my dad's a musician. He plays guitar, so I was always around music. I think a little part of me liked that my parents didn't understand it and were like terrified by it at first. I'm good. That actually, see, at this point, I can take 2 hits and I'm like, all right. Next thing you know, this fucking interview starts going way downhill, dude.
That's why we start bringing the bowls back.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta start bringing bowls back.
Exactly.
Everyone's like, you gotta have the best weed and you gotta smoke the most of it as you can.
Hell no. And I used to say that all the time. Bro, I used to smoke weed from the moment I woke up until the moment I went to sleep all day. I have no idea how I used to do that. Like, it blows my mind that I was able to do that. I also used to take ecstasy, 3 times a week. That blows my mind. Like, what the fuck?
That blows my mind. That blows my mind.
What's left of my mind? You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ.
You do think at a pretty high level for taking ecstasy.
I think I got out of the ecstasy game just in time, if we're being honest. Because you don't, Yeah, ecstasy in particular, I stopped entirely. I don't do that at all. But I mean, I went to school in Long Island. It was a big deal back then. It was even like pre-Molly. It was like the ecstasy pills.
Do you think
And
about...
boy, I love that shit. It was fun. You got no worries on it.
I've never done it because I know I'm addicted. I know I'm an addictive personality.
Don't do it.
No.
Just take my word for it, live vicariously through
it's
the
like whenever
stupid shit I've done.
I don't do coke, people are like, good, don't do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, coke, I mean, shit.
We don't have
Not gonna say I've never done it, but I've never in my life been like, oh man, I'm so glad I did coke last night.
Yeah.
Not once.
It's funny you said your dad's a musician, because this is something I think, my dad's a musician and I don't make music, but I think about generational like paths that are bigger than us. That you're like living out his dreams happening, but it took
He
way
like
longer.
forged, this sword, which is, you know what I mean?
I got a vinyl with my voice on it, and my dad was like, I've never been on a vinyl. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm living his dream.
And I get my dad in the studio on songs, to the point where
really?
he's like co-produced that joint I sent you, that Condition one. That's him playing the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, he's like literally co-producer of that.
That's crazy.
And he comes out on stage with me, when we're on this side of the country. I've flown him out for a few.
But it's like his dream just took way longer and not the path that it expected.
Exactly. I mean, and he was doing the circuit. He's an incredible guitar player. Mm-hmm. He definitely has accolades himself, but it's really cool getting to work with him now too. You know what I mean? And it's no question I wouldn't be who I am without his influence in so many ways. On how he raised me as a human being and a man on the one hand, but then also being exposed to so much music at a young age to the point where it's like my brain was this squishy, like not even formed thing yet. And all this incredible music from such a good era is like, these melodies are getting like imprinted in my mind, Yeah,
I was 4 years old and I knew every word to The Predator by Ice Cube, the entire album. Like that's what my dad played me. Like,
I didn't know any hip hop until I got considerably older, because when you're a certain age, you listen to what your parents listen to. And my parents are older. They're in their 70s, so.
Oh, wow.
They knew, like, the good shit from, late 60s, early 70s, kind of like Woodstock era.
That makes sense in your music, though.
Yeah,
the influence definitely makes sense.
They put me onto great reggae, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Toots the Maytals, Jimmy Cliff. So it's like, all this stuff was getting ingrained in me too. I love reggae. Especially in the summer,
Oh yeah.
Nothing gets your day in the right place.
like some reggae
on a nice summer morning,
My mom loved like Lil Wayne and
that's
stuff
super
like
cool.
that. So that's why I like that. Like I like mumble rap. I like drug rap because I kind of grew up with it. You know what I mean? Like it was influential to me early on.
And to me, when I discovered it, and because I didn't have any siblings, I'm an only child.
I'm an only child too.
Yeah, that's why we're fucking weird hipsters.
That's why we're crazy.
No, seriously, like being an only child is a very unique experience.
Yes.
Like, it will have an effect on who you become. I would say.
I get why I relate to your stuff so much more now. That's so funny.
Yeah. It's a weird fucking experience being an only child. It
you
really
are
is
alone.
fucking
Like,
weird. You are entirely alone. You're not, but you are.
I had an ex say this to me, and it was so rude. But she goes, when your parents die, if you're not married, you'll really be alone.
Yeah,
and I was like, and then she was like,
you don't think we've ever thought of that?
No,
ever?
I was like, and I know I'm the only one to take care of them.
Like,
too.
you want to talk a bad trip when fucking you start thinking about some shit like that? Oh my God.
You're like, I'm the only one who has to take care of them?
Yeah.
What the
And just like what that's going to be like. I'm so lucky to have both my parents. I like, truly.
Me too, yeah.
I mean, I had a grandpa until this year. He was 95.
Wow.
My favorite human being I ever met, my poppy. He's the best. Italian. Bull, strongest guy. Oh my God, he used to knock people out left and right.
A man's man.
Absolute man's man, heart of gold. Such a good human being. And I mean, that influence really rubbed off on me a lot too, because he helped raise me. I was at his house a lot. And, later in life, I always made it a point to go see him all the time. He was the best. The stories he used to tell, man, I've got some great. I
What's your
made sure to get videos.
Stories?
You know,
What's a crazy story?
I'll show you one. Like a lot of them just involved a fight, and that he would win. You know?
My grandfather was the same way.
Back then, that's how you settled a dispute.
Motherfucker out.
And everyone's got their stories, but then I would meet all his friends and other relatives, and they would be like, "Yeah, your grandpa, man, what a great guy." But boy, oh boy, did he send some people to the hospital.
My grandfather was the quietest, most meek man on my mom's side. But when he passed, all of his friends were like, he was the life of the party.
No
he was
shit.
crazy.
Yeah,
we were like, damn, he had a double life. Like,
yeah. And some people just like, you know, they quiet down, you know, as they get older. My life is so much less crazy. I used to like go out all the time, and thinking back on it, it's insane. Like, what's the point of like, but I get it, you're young, so that's the point.
What type of old person are you gonna be?
Probably, I mean, I would say I'm already getting grumpy, so I would say grumpy's definitely gonna be part of the brand. But I don't know, like wise. Like the thing is, like old people lived through shit that we didn't, and it's so interesting. I love talking to old people. I think they have so many incredible stories and things to learn from. They saw a different time than we did. And we're going to be those old people one day. Yeah. You know? And then at that point, they're like these libraries of information.
Yeah, we write old people off.
Yeah, you can never... Dude, old people are awesome. I mean, not all of them, because not all people are awesome, and some of them just get old inevitably.
Except I do think you have to be a certain level of stubborn to survive.
Yeah.
So a lot of old people are stubborn because they survived, you know?
Yes. And it's
like I used to call my grandma like a negative Nancy a lot. But I was like, yeah, because she had to survive through everything. Yeah. Of course she's negative.
Dude, life is a bitch at a lot of points. And then, so they say.
And then you die.
So they say.
That's how they say.
Life it really is like, I mean, you got to find the joy in it. Yeah. But it's a crazy experience. But that is interesting, being an only child. And I'm lucky to have some really good friends. My best friend, Adam Gennario, the best, man. We go back to literally our grandpas were best friends. Oh, like that crazy. Grandpa and his grandpa were best friends. And then, you know, our moms were friends. No, they didn't. They were the two. Oh, your mom. So it was both the moms. Yeah. And so we were like in the crib.
That's wild.
Together, and still best friends to this day. And he has 3 siblings, and I grew up at their house. So I got adopted by that pack, basically. You know what I mean? Like a little orphan wolf. I needed, and I'm really thankful. I also had some other really good friends that, you know, I consider almost brothers, pretty much brothers, but then there is still
lonely.
You have to have some friends. You gotta have friends, and you have to have good friendships, like deep, you know, cherished, treasured friendships, man. Because like those friendships that last until you're this age. When you're young, you're just like, oh, I'm friends with everybody, and it'll last forever, you know. And don't get me wrong, I have some dear friends that I haven't spoken to in a long time, and it doesn't mean we're any less friends. We're just all busy in different parts of the country. But you know, there's only so many people you will have known from that point in life. Yeah. And you meet way less people as you get older on that sort of a level. I feel like maybe that's me as a rapper. Maybe that's some jaded shit, you know, just from having to meet thousands and thousands of people. Yeah. It's hard to like, you know, I have made some new, unbelievably close friends later in life, but way less than I used to, for sure.
Yeah, because you're so public anyway that like when you're younger you just want more people to like you. But then when you get hella people to like you, you're probably like, oh, this isn't all that.
And finding like genuineness out there, you know.
And that people aren't trying to like dick ride and shit. Like,
and you know, you have whatever life experiences you have in terms of fucked up friendships and, you know, whatever goes on there in your life, but that kind of just changes your thought on what a friend is, you know, and like, you know, I'm lucky to have some really good ones, and they're like siblings. But not having any siblings technically, biologically, is still its own thing.
If I was
That's why I read, dude. That's why I read. I was like writing stories.
Books are your brothers and sisters.
Yes, and my action figures. I used to have the most like illustrious action figure battles, bro, with storylines.
Oh, bro, yeah. I loved that shit, bro.
Like full day-long ones. And if I had other friends involved, like I was the one pushing the storyline forward.
Yeah. Did you have imaginary friends?
There was this dragonfly that I was always convinced was following me, Dave the Dragonfly. But I think it was just a bunch of different dragonflies.
They kind of look similar.
Yeah.
You can't really tell.
But I swore he was like following me, and we were hanging out.
If I was an old person, I kind of want to die before the aliens land.
Yeah, unless they already have.
You think
I don't know, man.
I feel like they look like us. I think it's ignorant to think they look different than us.
Maybe, or maybe it's like some Venom shit, where it's like some parasitic, so they do look like us because
You
of
think
that.
they've landed?
I think they definitely have throughout the course, but I am very skeptical as to like everything that's going on right now in that respect, because it's like, everybody's talking about it, news, you know what I mean? Whenever the news starts super covering something.
You're an alien hipster.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. No,
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
I'm receptive to it. I'm not an alien expert in the conspiracy world. You know what I mean? I feel like when it comes to people who are into conspiracies, it's like the alien people are their own like
genres.
subdivision.
Genre. Yeah. What's your genre of choice?
Kind of just like
Illuminati.
I would say like the controlling forces. Unfortunately, I feel like it's way more fun to be like into aliens. I more just on like the things that seem to be directly pertinent.
Yeah.
But also like looking back on like erased history, I think is very interesting. I love history. I think history is super interesting. But then when you begin to even question the history that you're taught, it's like, whoa, dude, what really did go
Graham
on?
Hancock shit.
Who's that?
He's the guy who does the. It's like the world is. We had like ancient civilizations way older.
Yeah,
than
no,
what
for
we-
sure. Yes, I know. I've heard the
yeah.
name. Yeah, no, we definitely do. So it's like, what happened there? Like, and then there's like what we're told. And just accept for fact. It's like the deeper you get in it, even the most like kind of simple things that you've thought you never questioned your whole life, you start to question. You're like, damn, you know?
Yeah.
Like I've heard some theories, like some really far out ones, but then just been like, I mean, it's possible.
It's tough to not go over the edge.
Yeah, I try to like, depending on
like
who my audience is. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it can get pretty whacked out.
Yeah, I don't want to like get you in trouble on anything because certain people have certain.
No, I just think it's like, some people you could start real surface layer, and they're like, oh, that's not, and it's like, oh shit, man, I didn't even get warmed up. We can't go any further. This is where we have to stop because you are.
That's how I feel about DMT, and I hate the term spirituality, but like that type of thing is when I did it. I can go real deep into my beliefs of what I actually think is out there and what I think that is. But I realize no one actually wants to listen to me talk about that.
They might, man. Like I'm always interested to hear when someone had an experience that they stepped away from with something new. Because that might be something that, in this instance, I don't have that gem yet. Yeah. I never have fully blasted off into this other dimension with DMT. I just kind of floated off the bed a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's like you fully hallucinate in a different world. And it's funny because movies make you think when you take mushrooms, you're going to see shit. You never...
things change. They start to get a little wiggly.
There's no real...
Like this carpet would
hallucinations.
This carpet would get...
But when you do DMT, it's real hallucination.
Yeah, you go somewhere else entirely.
You go somewhere else, which is a place that if you haven't been, sounds crazy.
Yes, but I understand that I've heard too much similar things from people who have done that, where it's like, damn, how'd y'all all go to like a real similar place? All these different minds, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's interesting.
But it is funny because you do have to test your audience to see how far deep people want to go.
Yeah, and it's a crazy time, man. It's a crazy time because like you can say something the wrong way. You could mess up a sentence and say something you didn't mean to say at all. And it's a real like soundbite time where someone will take one sentence out of context and make you look fucking crazy. Like people, that's why I'm not mad at the level of notoriety and fame that I have, because I don't want to be the subject of scrutiny across everywhere, because I say some crazy shit. My fans know and understand me for who I am, and there's not usually anything wrong there, but sometimes I just get going and I say wild shit on stage. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it always comes from a good place. I have like what I would consider to be a good heart, you know, decent intention. And, but yeah, no, sometimes I say wild shit, dude. If I was like famous, you could take so many things that I say out of context, I'm sure, and just be like, this guy's fucking nuts.
It's tough, cause I find shit, I consider my humor like porn. Some people have watched all the regular porn, so they're into crazy porn.
Right, right, desensitized.
I'm desensitized to humor, so I like the craziest joke.
Right.
But other people, that would be like, Letty, what do you like? And then you're watching some fucking chick get whipped and a dude tied like in a gimp suit.
I mean, I would even say
humor, you know?
Musically, like Raw Thoughts is kind of that. You know what I mean? It's like real.
But I like that shit. I like pushing the boundaries.
I think pushing the boundaries is important, and I feel like times like this in any society where things really are so fucked up and you can't ignore it when you look around, it does create, you know, a lot of times a renaissance of sorts where creatives rise to the occasion, and it somehow kind of helps things correct itself.
People can get away with kind of saying crazy shit again. I feel like it's starting to come back.
Yeah, I mean, now with AI, you could make it, you could have me say anything and fucking, you know, I mean, so it's like, this interview could not exist. This could all be just an AI simulation in case someone does want to take a soundbite. I'm just gonna be like, yo, that whole sandbox thing, that was AI,
I don't even know who that
They're getting crazy with this shit nowadays. Made it look like my whole house and everything.
How did he know who the fuck is that kid? But no, I mean, I do feel like you can kind of get away with more now. Like comedians are finally able, like Shane Gillis, shout out Shane Gillis. Like he can kind of, you can say within reason if it's a joke or if it's in jest.
And some jokes, you know, like people who do push the boundaries, sometimes you fuck push
up
too far, and you do fuck up, for sure, in what some people would consider. But at the same time, like, you don't destroy someone's livelihood over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I tell you a story that I never thought I'd tell on the podcast, but it happened last weekend?
Fuck it.
I performed on the Drumwork Fest last week, which was Conway's festival. Gucci Mane, Jada Kiss, Rich the Kid, and they had a comedy show too with T.I.'s Haha Mafia. So it was like it was like a 2,000 person theater for like a rap audience. So I go up and I start doing great. Like I really do. For my first like 3/4 of my set, I'm doing great. And I got cocky. And I did a joke about the movie The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is a really intense Holocaust movie about children dying. And the first 3 minutes of the joke is no joke at all. It's just me explaining the movie. Oh, so you're really
relying on that.
And I got so cocky. I got booed. I was getting fully booed. And then in the end, I finally got it back. Like because the punchline is good. Come see me do comedy. The punchline is good.
There you go.
But I had never experienced, I was like, damn, I got cocky instead of joke. I shouldn't have done a 5-minute Holocaust joke for a rap show.
Gotta know your audience. I think there's an art to that too. And I get desensitized to that sometimes too, because I've been touring, you know, headlining my tours now for a long time. So I got my fans there in the room. So, you know.
Have you ever bombed?
They know I say wild shit. Well, I just have to factor it in if I'm doing a festival or something else where it's like, okay.
But have you bombed? Like, in your mind, that was a horrible show.
The worst stage experience that I ever had was like 2010, and I somehow got an opportunity to open for Wu-Tang in New York City. Now, in no way, shape, or form was I prepared as an artist for this opportunity. This opportunity came way too early, or it didn't, because it was meant to teach me something.
Yeah.
So I go up there. I mean, that's a brutal crowd, you know, and I'm like, 22? I go up there on stage, and this is back when it was like CDs. That's what your DJ had, and the CD didn't work. But I had already walked out, so there's just this really awkward silence. Looking back, getting this, I'm like, oh, and people, heavy booze. Like, who the fuck is this kid? Boo! Get this guy the fuck out. We came to see Wu-Tang. I'm just like, man, I was kind of out of my element here, to begin with. What ended up happening is Peter Rosenberg started playing beats, and I freestyled.
Peter Rosenberg.
Yeah, because he had a setup over there too. Absolutely, I really appreciate that. Peter Rosenberg saved my life that night, because if I had to step off that stage without having any moment of rapping, I think, that depression would have been, as it was. I mean, this crushed me, dude. And I freestyled for a second. Back then I was pretty sharp with the freestyles. No idea what the fuck I said. And at least started getting less booze by the end of it,
Yeah.
But no, it taught me a lot. I've had some experiences like that for sure that are just like, man. Yeah, I mean, performance-wise,
I opened up for Wu-Tang Clan on Juneteenth.
How'd that go?
I started getting booze. What saved me is there was like an old white guy cleaning. And I was like, shout out to my dad for coming. And I got him back with that. But I was like, damn, why would they book me of all people?
But
on Juneteenth to do comedy.
When you're opening for other artists,
it's
like a totally different ball game, and it's good. Like I just did a festival in Finland. That's still not opening for another artist. So when you're opening, I opened for Tech Nine on a full tour, and it was like 50 shows in 54 days.
The first time I saw real titties was at a Tech Nine concert.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
The first time I saw titties in real life.
A lot of titties.
Was at a Tech Nine concert.
A lot of titties come out. But it was a really, I got to learn from Tech, who's, an independent juggernaut. I mean, when it comes to touring, this dude is a fucking machine. He's so dialed. He's been doing it for so long. His stamina, he's been doing that. I've been doing it for 14, 15 years, and I'm exhausted. He's been doing it way longer. But I learned so much watching him, but you got to factor it in too. It's like, this is not my crowd. There were some crowds where a decent amount of people came. It was like 2015, so I had been in the game for some time. But also there was like, especially in some markets, like, there were some markets where no one was there for me. There were some markets where it felt like almost half. You know what I mean? Interestingly, when we went to Montana, it was super lit because I had never been there.
Up north.
Yeah, like, I'm more of a northern, like Jon Snow kind of. That's where my
rap
reign.
game, Jon Snow.
Yes. But like in Midwest. But yeah, I guess it's like usually the northern. Although I haven't gone to the South. Historically, that's the case. But it's been a while since I've been, down to the true South. So I'd be interested.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Canada. Shout out to Canada. That tour was nuts.
Yeah,
we
Justin
sold the whole
was
shit
telling
out.
me how crazy. Shout out Justin Clancy.
Yeah, absolutely. Clancy, how you doing?
Good dude.
Yes,
Good
yes.
musician.
Yeah. And it was cool having them out. That was like such a crazy experience for them. That was the first time they had done something of that scale, and getting to like live vicariously through that. I mean, it was the biggest tour I've ever done as well for myself. It was nuts, but I'm still like, desensitized in a sense.
Yeah.
Which, I miss the wonder and awe of being like, oh, a new city, we've never been here. Like,
we've been to every city.
We still go to new places sometimes, especially when you incorporate international. I mean, at this point, we've done a good bit of Canada, for most of Canada. We still got to make it up to like Halifax. Yeah, I've done Europe, but Europe's still very new to me. I've just done the one tour, and then I just did Finland, that festival.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, but no, Europe feels like you're really somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But the U.S. is a beautiful country too. You can't sleep on it. We got all sorts of regions.
I love traveling, like driving around. Like, we were driving from D.C. to Atlanta, and we saw this thing called Ruby Falls. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
In Chattanooga, Tennessee. We pull off. We're like, what is Ruby Falls? It's a waterfall inside a cave.
Damn.
And they don't know where the water comes from. They've like tested it. It's 70 feet high waterfall inside a cave. And the dude who started it, this is like one of the most inspirational stories. It blew my mind. It was just cool to pull off and find it. He was a spelunker. And he felt like wind coming from a hole that was 18 inches high. And he's like, well, there's wind coming from something. I'm going to go in there. And he climbed for 6 hours in an 18-inch hole. And when he got out, it was the waterfall.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, if that's not dedication and shit, that shit
bro.
like blew my fucking mind. So if you're ever in Chattanooga, go to Ruby Falls.
Yeah, and that's part of being present right there too. It's like taking that turn off to go to Ruby Falls. You know, how often are you like, that sounds cool, but I gotta get, you know, like, it's important to have the Ruby Falls experiences in your life, wherever, you know, the path takes you, because life's too short, man.
Man, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
This was dope as fuck.
Hell yeah,
I really,
dude.
really appreciate
Hell yeah,
this.
I had a good time too, man. You're a good man, dude.
We covered a lot of topics. Moose was here watching us.
Moose, yeah, he's a great observer.
Great observer.
He's my publicist. That's why he's looking at me like that. He's like, well, you said a couple things there. You know,
you didn't say
we're gonna have a talk afterwards.
He jumped on your legs and he's like, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. But no, I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely,
Thank
man.
you,
Absolutely.
and thanks everyone for listening.
Fuck yeah.
Peace out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey,